So this, my friends, is how it is done. Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is pencillerKD back with another video on drawing Friends character series. Let's pull this off. In this video, we will be drawing Jennifer Aniston, aka Rachel Green, from the very famous TV show Friends. I would request you not to skip any sections. Make sure you watch the entire video. The parts that are not so important have already been either fast forwarded or removed. There are going to be a lot of cool tips and tricks that I'll show during the process, which I'm very sure that you will love. Without wasting any time, let's get started. But before that, please spare a moment to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit that bell icon so that you get an instant notification the next time I upload some new content. We'll just be using our cool observation skills, a normal A3 size sketchbook, few pencils and some erasers to complete this project. Before we begin, let's observe the picture and try to identify some of the details that will help us in the process. The jawline is quite chiseled, which is why her face appears to be very angular in nature. It is very important to get this part right. In such cases where the jawline is covered in shadows, to get a better view, I would recommend you to draw a shape in your reference picture using straight lines. These lines will help you distinguish the angle a bit more clearly from the background. We'll have to pay attention to the shadow areas as this picture contains a lot of them. We'll talk more about it on our way as we approach it. Talking about the placement of the facial features. The entire face, starting from the top of the forehead till the chin, can be divided into 4 equal parts. The width of her face is equal to the distance between the center of her eyebrow till the bottom of the chin. The left mouth ending is just under the point where the iris of the left eye is. Interestingly enough, if you notice this point, it is in between the left nose wing and the left jawbone. This will help us in placing it correctly. The partition of her hair is towards the left side and is above the left eyebrow. So this will help us in determining the placement of her hair. Now that we have sufficient data, let's start with our project. I'm using a basic sketchbook paper here, nothing fancy at all. Starting off with a circle to mark my territory. I'll do it with a very light hand. I don't want to leave a very dark impression right at the beginning. Now, I'll mark the line which goes from the center of the face. Just observe closely, her head is tilted slightly to the right side. Now, we'll first create equidistant spaces to divide the forehead, nose and mouth region. Starting off with the right eye, I'll slowly try to create the shapes here. At all times, I am being cautious about the distance and relations of it with the left eye. Now, we'll move on to the left eye, leaving one eye distance in between. Placing the iris at their correct location. Finding an appropriate angle from the right eye to mark the nose area. Like we discussed earlier in the video, we all know where it ends, we just have to mark the area where the wings are going to go. We will now simply block the shapes at their right position. We'll get into the details when we add shades to it. My goal here is to lay down the features at their correct location right now. I'll add the details at the later part as the sketch evolves. I'm trying not to go very dark with the outlines of the face. If you notice in real life, there are no outlines on the objects. We'll try to keep it that way. Trying to create the jawline. The angle is very important here. I won't be making these lines very dark. We'll be using shades to define it better. Just see how the distance of the point where the mouth ends is roughly at the center of the distance between the right nose wing and the jawline. If you notice, I'm also roughly trying to mark the areas where I need to put in the shadows. I'm just trying to roughly differentiate between the lighter and the darker areas. The shadow areas are also helpful in placing the features at their correct location. I'll start with marking the hair. I'm constantly moving my eyes to and fro from the reference picture and my sketch, trying to capture only the blocky shapes and not the details as of now. You don't want to get caught up in the details at such an early stage of a sketch. Now that our outline is ready, we can start with introducing some shades to it. I'll start with the 2B pencil. It is very important to control the pressure in the initial stages. We don't want to go too dark as yet. It is best to follow the layering strategy while shading any subject. Start with a light tone, make sure that it is spread uniformly, then gradually start adding darker shades while maintaining the balance with other nearby areas. The darkest area in this picture is the hair on the right side. So, we have to make sure that no other region is darker than the darkest part of the picture. It is a very simple principle, we only have to look at the picture a bit more holistically. In this case, I have started off on the right side of the face as there are a lot of shadow regions on this side. Once I'm done with this part, I'll have the idea of how far can I go in the value scale to darken my shades. Based on that, I will create shades on the other part of the picture. I'm trying to move my pencil while following the contours of the face. That way, my shades are going to look a bit more realistic. There is a shadow area on the lip as well. Make sure you get it right. This will increase the three-dimensionality and give it a better looking form. I'm constantly squinting my eyes in order to find relations of the shades with other nearby areas. I'm now using erasers to give in more details on the skin. Now, I will darken the areas which is under the hair. This will bring out the face with a better definition. That's enough for now. Let's move on to the hair. We'll get back to it later. I'll start with the lightest part of the hair first. This is just a 6B pencil. I use it to draw hair because it covers more real estate due to its thickness. Working with a thick lead has its own pros and cons. On one hand, it gives you more thickness on the paper, and on the other, it gives you a granular coverage. I like it that way. If you want to draw smooth shades and give it more realistic look, I would recommend you to stick to a normal sized pencil. Even though I am using a 6B here, but the pressure that I am applying is very minimum. The area of her hair is more than 30% of the entire picture, give or take. It is very important to get it right. While drawing this section, we have to keep this in mind that she has blonde hair, and in order to translate it accurately on the sketch, we cannot afford to go with the darker shades. I am being careful not to get too carried away and draw dark colored hair. In this case, after giving in some shades using 6B, I'll go in with a 0.5 mechanical pencil just to smoothen out things and create a hair-like texture. I'm just creating some lines in the direction of the hair flow. If you want a detailed tutorial on how to draw hair, let me know in the comment section below. I'll do a similar thing on the other side. I'm trying to maintain the balance in the values at all times. Now, I want to work on the upper part of the face, but I also don't want to smudge the drawing with my hand. I use OHP sheets in such cases. I can now draw without worrying about the smudge, and also it is not going to block my view. Now, I am going to darken this side of the face to give more depth to it. The left eye needs some correction here. also remove some graphite from the iris. Now, this looks good. With this, we have come to the end of our process, and the result looks something like this. Make sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed the process, and do subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Instagram. I regularly post good content about my drawing process and updates over there too. This is pencillerKD signing off.